If you always are going with the populist view, then you're not a leader. I want to be a leader. But when you're a leader, it says the buck stops with me. You have to have an opinion, and not everyone's going to gravitate to your opinion. I want to be a man of conviction and purpose, not a man of selfish pleasure, convenience, or financial gain.
So it sounds like you're a very intentional kind of guy. What else do I need to know about you?
Peter is an entrepreneur who built his first startup from a bedroom into a global award-winning tech company. He's led divisions in a Fortune 50 firm, hosted TV and podcasts, authored a business book, and now equips Christian leaders through 100x legacy. He's driven by one mission, turning purpose into lasting impact.
And so, yeah, I think you want to be convicted. And if you are...
A bit more about conviction. What does that word mean to you?
Well, here's a question I would ask. So...
Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
You're like an influencer. I've seen you all online, and when my friend introduced us together, I was like, yes, I want to have you on my show.
Let's do this. It's going to be fun. I mean, brave of you, because you don't know what I'm going to say. So
I've seen enough of your content to know that you will be a really great guest. So you're on for a great treat. So love to see what your little show and tell.
Little show and tell is, well, I turned 50 just a little while ago, and for my 50th, I bought an old school Defender.
Wow.
It's 20 years old.
So it's like
20 years old, 450,000 Ks on the clock, and the only time it doesn't leak
there are
oil.
about 6 kids on this thing. It looks like a gigantic car.
Yeah, it is. And the only time it doesn't leak oil is when it's run out of oil. It's noisy, it's bumpy, it's uncomfortable. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
And why that? Like, why?
I think sometimes in life you're always trying to get ahead, and you always want something modern, and you always want to be super efficient. And I think you lose a lot. And I think it's like if you think about your best memories growing up, they weren't comfortable, right? They were kind of adventurous, or they were a bit off the beaten path. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, if I just get something new, there's going to be a new word, there's going to be a bigger. And so I said, you know what, I just want something classic. So I found that. And also I was saying to my wife, the kids are going to see enough of nice things. Where's the rough, bumpy thing? Like, you drive this car from North to Sydney. I mean, you have post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, it is loud and bumpy. You drive for a bit. And it's the slow roads. I can't make a phone call in the car.
This is the weirdest story I've ever heard, because it's like someone buying something to create uncomfortableness.
It's crazy. And it's this love, you love it, and sometimes you just need a break from it. But it's like when I drive it, I can't make a phone call. And so I drive, because it's just too noisy. But I drive, it's as aerodynamic as a brick. So I can wind the windows down, and it's not drumming, and you cruise, and you just can chew things out. And I think sometimes, if you're going so fast, you've got no room to exhale. So I kind of love that. And you get little stories like, because we can't drive down in one go because it's too noisy, you pull off at someone's farm as a farm stay. They come out and they're like, I'm just working the horse. Do you want to have a ride? Or they're telling you about their life, and you just connect a little bit. Love it.
So it sounds like you're a very intentional kind of guy. What else do I need to know about you?
Oh, Asian supermodel. Big on the East, but haven't cracked it on the West, but we're working to it. No, I think I remember as a kid, I remember reading this letter, and it was written to someone else, but it said, I saw a man marked by convictions, priority, and faith instead of selfish pleasure. Convictions, priorities, and faith instead of selfish pleasure, financial gain, and convenience. And I'd never met a man like that before. And so I remember saying, I want to be a man of conviction and purpose, not a man of selfish pleasure, convenience, or financial gain. And so, yeah, I think you want to be convicted. And if you are...
Tell me more about conviction. What does that word mean to you?
I think if you're going to be... Well, here's a question I would ask. So I ran a business, and if we were employing a leader, one of the questions I would ask is, when was the last time you took an unpopular stance or went against the conventional belief or went against the flow? Because if you always are going with the populist view, then you're not a leader. And so lots of people say, I want to be a leader. But when you're a leader, it says the buck stops with me. You have to have an opinion, and not everyone's going to gravitate to your opinion. And so there's a cost of leadership. And if you are populist, you're just going to be this verbal diarrhea. But to have conviction, there's this ancient Hebrew proverb, and it says, from the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And when you hear someone speak and you go, that just sounds like blah, but someone else can say something the same, but it goes, oh, that's authentic, and I can connect with that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between rote learning speech and having something come out of conviction from your heart.
And what's priorities? You mentioned the second part is priorities.
Yeah.
How important is that?
Well, I think there's a lot of things you can do in life. You can't do everything. And so I say, success leaves clues. So major in the majors, don't major in the minors. And not every opportunity is created equal, and not every obstacle you face is created equal. And so what are the majors that you want to excel on? What are the things at the end of your day? I say, look, one day you're going to be on the rocking chair, the end of your days sitting on a porch, looking down the driveway of a life lived. What do you want to see? And this is what I tell people. You will never be proud of consumption. You can enjoy consumption. You can enjoy nice things. There's nothing wrong with it. But the only things at the end of your days you're going to want is what you're proud of. And the things that you are going to be proud of are the things that you worked on, which wasn't convenient, that had priorities and conviction, and helped someone else. And so I'm just aware of that is that type of piece. And I think just super quick, if there's a great book to read, it was written by an Australian palliative care nurse. And
I think I know this one.
The five regrets of the dying.
I always refer to that.
Yeah. Because there are. And when people go, I live with no regrets.
5 regrets, yeah.
Well, I go, I have regrets. I've done dumb things that I regretted. I learned from them. And so I think it's okay to go, I made a mistake and I regret doing that. I don't beat myself up over that. But with that, there can be wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's probably this final piece I'd say on this topic is, do you want to be good or look good? Sometimes we talk or present of ourselves a way to look good. But I'd rather be good, So
yeah, I love that. Oh my God, you were like teaching us so many gold nuggets. So you mentioned that third part is faith. Growing up, were you always have been a man of faith? Your family grew up as a Christian family or not?
We didn't grow up as a Christian family, no. I'm first generation Chinese. My dad left communist China on a bicycle. He was in the middle of China. Communism was coming through with a relative, got on the bike and
what year
rode
are we
to the
talking about
coast.
here around then?
He would have been, I guess, in the, when was that? Probably the 50s. Things were starting to kind of shake up there. And I don't think people realize that China was a different place, right? And so Dad would tell the stories where communism started coming through and they were breaking spectacles and grabbing books and burning them. Like that was kind of this whole anti-intellectualism and so forth. So, for my dad, where he would say they were in a little rural village in China in the north, there's no bark on the trees, right? Because everyone's so hungry, they're just trying to put something in their stomach.
God.
And so when you have a go at Chinese because they're going, oh my goodness, they eat scorpions. It's like no one grows up going, a scorpion would be a tasty meal, right? The country was in famine for decades. And so you learn to eat other things.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they came here and, when Dad and Mum started a family, they said, I just want one wish, that my kids never say I'm hungry. And so, that was their piece, and everything was about safety and kind of comfort. And so, it was all work and safety, and, the old joke, right? I got an A- in my exam. That's an Asian fail.
And it's not good enough. Yes.
But I'm like, Mum, aren't you happy for me? I just want you to be better, son. Every Asian goes, amen. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And so when did your faith journey come about then?
I think it was, I just don't know where it came from. I mean, Mum was a Christian. Like my mum's mum became a Christian from a Western ministry to China.
Oh, wow.
Missionary. And so grandma on mum's side was a Christian. Mum was a Christian. But then, I think when she got married, it was that kind of got put to the side because now I need to be a good Chinese wife. And then I just had a sense that God was real. And I still can't believe it.
Did you feel like
I mean, I can remember I would have been 8 years old.
Wow.
I would Mum would give me 20 cents. And back in it's going to show my age. Back in the day, you could be 8 years old, you'd be roaming the streets, right?
Yeah.
You never do it now.
Yeah.
I'd be 8 years old. Mum would give me 20 cents for the offering.
Go to the milk bar.
Yeah, I'd go to church.
Oh, church.
By myself on a Sunday, not knowing anybody. The Sunday family service, not the youth service.
You went to church at 8 years old instead of going to the milk bar that I imagined.
Yeah, it's so weird. And everyone's like, what a geek. But I just had a sense that God was real. And then obviously on that journey
Did you understand the preaching?
I mean, you have, I wouldn't say that story wasn't forever and a day. But, you have scripture teachers going to school and they kind of learn pieces. And then got to high school. I was in a public school of about 1,000 students. The Christian group that would meet on a Friday when we first started would have 200 to 300 of 1,000 kids in one school meeting in. Like just even you say 200, it was packed.
Yeah.
And you go, why? And I go, I can look back and there were these faithful parents that would meet once a month and they would pray. And I 100% know that brought a significant influence. Years later, I went back to the same school, same Christian group. Some of the youth group kids I was leading asked me to go and speak. I'm speaking to 12 kids. And what was, let's say a couple hundred kids was 12. What's the difference? And you can talk about lots of societal impacts, but when we're talking about faith, something that's lasted more than 2,000 years. And so I'd probably go prayer unlocked a lot of things. Yeah.
And what were some of the learnings you got when you were younger that was like, yep, this is true for me. And I know this is why. Because I felt like when I discovered it later on, I could compare the way I lived my life before and how it all worked and what didn't work. That when I was listening to these verses, I was like, that makes sense. I get it because I have lived experience. I'm curious about what are some of the key things that you learned and you're like, yeah, this is why I know God is real.
I think you can argue the historical validity of the Bible. I think you can make an argument that the most historical, accurate person that's ever walked the earth is Jesus Christ. You can talk about the number of manuscripts. How do they determine accuracy of historical documents? The number of documents and the gap between the oldest recorded document and the next one. And the New Testament is the most valid piece of scripture. If you compare that to Julius Caesar, Cleopatra, etc., it's minuscule. And so any historian would say that the most accurate historical document is the New Testament. Also the laws. You can make arguments about that to the cows come home. Frankly, that's never been my conviction. Well, this is it because it's historically true.
Yeah.
But some people, that's the case and that's fine. I think you can never argue against personal revelation. I just want to tell you a story of a man who's since passed. There's a movie about him. There's a book about him. He's a man called Stephen Lungu. And he came out of Malawi. He was discarded by his mother at a young age. He was in the streets. His bed at night, he would dig a hole under a bridge, cover himself with dirt. He was the leader of a gang called the Black Shadows. And the Black Shadows were a Marxist gang in Zimbabwe that believed that Christianity was the white man's trick to enslave the black man. And he had a history where he would, you can read between the lines, he warred against that. And one day he was with his gang and they were going to rob a bank. And on the way they saw a Christian tent meeting and they went, even better. Today we call Christians.
Wow.
And I just want to share this testimony. They get into the tent and they said, okay, at this particular time, we'll do it. We've got nothing to do. Why don't we just walk in and see what these jokers are saying? They're falling around the back and people are telling them to be quiet. They're all just ragged. He's pulling out his gun or his knife. And not long after they sit there, this preacher from the stage starts crying and says, God just gave me a vision. Many people are going to die tonight. And Stephen would say he pulled out his knife and he put it against his first lieutenant and he said, you rat me out, I'm going to kill you. His first lieutenant pulled out his gun, stuck it in Stephen's throat, goes, you rat me out, I'll kill you. Preacher still goes on. And then he said, I just felt that God was speaking to me and being so tender. Now there's a testimony to that. But a rival gang, what they do is they throw bombs into the tent. That causes commotion. Everyone runs out the tent, and as the people running out, people are getting picked off. And because just before this, Stephen had responded to the altar call, had walked down in front of everyone and was hugging this preacher and just sobbing. There's no one left in the tent. Stephen gets mentored eventually by Patrick Johnston, who's a great Christian theologian who wrote a book called Operation Mobilization. And it's a book where he's got every country of the world, the demographics and what's happened. Stephen couldn't read or write. At his passing, he could speak 7 languages. And he did make a prayer, if you teach me to speak the tongues of men, I will tell the world the story of what you did to my life. Guess what? He's at Oxford University. They're debating Muslim, Buddhism, Christian, agnostic, everything. He gets up and I'm going to interpret his voice, it's terrible. I do not have your degrees. I do not have your 3 letters, but I have my story. And he shared his testimony and then finished up and said, any questions?
Wow.
If Jesus doesn't transform your life, it's a book. I've got a lot of great books. If Jesus transfers your life, you'll see an evidence that demands a verdict, and it should show in your heart. So if you want to do that, there's a book called Out of the Black Shadows. There's a movie called Out of the Black Shadows, but Jesus has to change your life.
Yeah.
It's changed my life.
Oh my God. Wow, what a story. It just gave me goosebumps. I was imagining, I was like in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I definitely have experienced all that transformation. And that's why I'm dedicated to doing a channel on this, because I just wanted to bridge that gap. I was an atheist and now I am this. So when did your entrepreneurship journey come about? When did that crossroad come in?
I think I always had those leanings, growing up. I didn't have the money for it, but I loved, there was a friend of mine, and we kind of.
So did you ever become a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that?
Yeah, it's Asian. It's like you got to do those things. But I would pick up, when we were kids, we'd buy old boats, we'd work on them and do them up and sell them, and then, but then I think it was all about safety, and so I did my undergrad and postgrad in business, and then when I was out working in corporate, I had 25. I was managing a $400 million budget in a Fortune 50 listed company, reported directly to the CEO. So career-wise, it was looking amazing. And I just always had this itch. And I stepped out and started a business from nothing, not on the side, just literally had to jump up and leave. And I think if people are listening and they're going, I want to do a business, but I'm scared. I redefined what success and failure would look like. And I said, failure would be for me to stay in corporate, be very, very, very successful, and always look back and go, I wonder if. Success would be if I step out, give it a good red hot crack for 4 years, become financially bankrupt, and if I take on Roosevelt's quote, but my place will never be with those poor, timid souls that knew neither victory nor defeat. Life is not one on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Life is not about being comfortable. At the end of your days, what didn't you do? What did you have a go for? Oh my goodness, what an adventure. Oh my goodness, what an idiot. Have a crack.
Yeah.
Have a red hot crack.
And so you gave it a go.
Gave it a go.
Did that kind of analysis of pros and cons in the sense that
Well, it was
success
just
and
that.
failure.
Success, failure. Gave it a
Yeah.
go.
Well, how did you come up with the idea? It was an IT business.
Yeah, I was working in tech. I'm not technical. I had a business unit management role. So the business, without going into detail, was going to be originally like a channel management company, and then there were some challenges there, and then I just converted to just a kind of like move stock business. The first year we turned over $1 million, and then we were turning over a lot of revenue, but it was very lean margin. It was kind of just product sales, and that was not the business I wanted to be in long term. So about 4 years into it, shifted that business to a managed service model, and and then we did another shift into hybrid cloud some years later. And so where we ended up was probably 4 iterations from how the business started. And so you always have to make a decision with limited information and experience, but that's going to give you a step, and then that step's going to give you a different perspective.
Yeah. So how many years were you running that business, and can you describe some of the early days and experiences that you've had, the struggles, so that we can all kind of...
Yeah. First business, ran out of my mum and dad's home. Early employees have to take their shoes off the door. Mum used to ring the dinner bell and stomp on down and have dumplings. They were the early days, driving around in a beat up Toyota Corolla. When I had the meetings, I'd park them blocks away and run to the meeting so they wouldn't see my car. So you're doing all those things. You've got no leverage when you start. And I tell people, I can't remember everyone who fobbed me off, but I can remember everyone who helped me when I was nothing to them. To this day, I still can remember the people that went out of their way when I was nothing. And so, I think that's a great opportunity that we have. And, I want to try and help people, even knowing that they might not be able to help me.
Yeah.
And you won't do that perfectly. And I'm sure there's sometimes you miss people without meaning to. But yeah, they were kind of those early days.
Yeah. And were you quite ambitious? You had goals to grow it into a X amount of revenue. Because I'm going through that right now. It was like, for a long time I treated my business like a lifestyle. Then now I'm trying to get more ambitious with my goals. But then at the same time, I'm feeling like, it's not sustainable. You're kind of like stressing everyone out just because of these goals. What were some of the journey that you had?
I'd say 2 things, just talking about leadership and goal setting. So vision is about something in the future. It's not reality. Okay, so I have a vision, I have a picture, I have a goal. That's something for the future, it's not today. And so the gap between vision and reality causes an ache. Okay, and there's this old scripture passage, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Okay? The second part of that though says, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. So if you're going to be a leader with vision, you have to exist knowing that the bigger the vision, the more the hope deferred, the more the heart is sick. And you've got to live with that, with the belief and the conviction that one day this dream will be fulfilled and it's a tree of life. And so right now, there's dreams and goals I have where my heart is sick. But because I've done that now a few times, I can look back and go, do you remember when it eventually became a tree of life? And the God who's faithful in the past is faithful for today and for the future. So that's this first piece. With that as a leader, there is this picture that says God can do more than you can think or possibly imagine. So if he can do that for you, it's out of the stratosphere for the people that work with you. So it's not wise to share such a big vision that you cause the rubber band to snap. You need to think about the caterpillar. Give enough vision so it's not distracting.
Yes.
Give enough vision to give us alignment to know where we're going. And then as the operations catch up, you go again. If you don't do that,
that is such a great answer.
You're just a dreamer. You're just a gas bagger. And all you're going to do is chastise your operational team. And they're going, you're not living in reality because you're literally trying to get this V8 to perform like a Formula One. And then you go tune the V8, and it's like the car's not right. So we've got to slowly build time to build the next car. So that's the first piece on kind of that vision aspect. I think your next question was talking about that entrepreneurship journey and kind of early days and
Yeah.
you were ambitious and so forth, and lifestyle. I coach Christian business owners, and when they come to me, I go, why do you want to be coached? The most common and the most sad response I get is, I just want to live a balanced life.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to work too hard. I want to have enough room for my volunteering and enough room for my ministry and my family. They say these things. Why is that a travesty, right? I'm not a workaholic. But the first thing I say is, okay, let me get this right. So for your team, your customers and your partners, you want them to engage with you in a way so your life is balanced.
No.
But in what you've said, you've talked nothing about helping your customer, working with your partners, or developing your team.
Uh-huh.
I don't know about you, but we have a great team. You know why they're with me? Because I go, there's no ambition you're going to share with me that's going to scare me. We've just got to work out. Or we've got a very simple equation. Does us working together help you go where you want to go faster than on your own? If us working together gets you faster where you want to go, then we're going to have this collaboration, and then I can speak to you, because I know as I'm speaking to you, I'm not trying to drive an outcome. I'm trying to develop you and take you to your goals. And so you've got to create a future for your team, and you've got to grow the business to do that. And I'd say that to go, if you don't share, it's tremendously selfish, because you're a version 2.0 of someone else. And if we're meant to be a light of the world and not put it under the table, but we put it on the top of the table so everyone can see it, I think that's a drive. The last thing, and it's one of my foundational scriptures, is there's this passage. It's a great story. It's called the parable of the talents. And in this story, one person's given $5,000, someone else is given $2,000, someone's given $1,000. And the first two people double that investment. And the last one works hard and hides the money so no one else could find it. But when the master comes back and says, can I have the money back? He's able to dig up that money and give it back with not a penny missing. So they worked hard from execution point of view, but they were called wicked and lazy. And so there's an obligation to multiply the resources that have been given to you. Isn't that this question, right? Oh my goodness, what I gave you, did you multiply? Did you impact people?
Yeah.
It's totally different, because otherwise, you know what people say to me? And I have more, they go, Peter, when's enough for you? You know why? Because their motivation's money and ease.
Yeah, and satisfying what they need, not everyone else's.
If you're going to have a big view, never's enough for me, because there's never enough people that you can
to help. And money is a byproduct of helping a lot of people.
100%.
Yeah. So what happened with your business when you decided to sell it? You eventually got out of that IT business.
Sold it in 17 years to become an overnight success. Sold it in, we grew it to an international business, sold it in 2017, exited in 2018.
Yeah. What was the calling? Do you have a calling, a feeling that you should sell? Like, what was that moment like for you to decide that?
I think business can get tiring. I think as well, it's like by that stage I had a couple other equity partners that wanted different things. And, we weren't aligned anymore. We wanted to do different things individually, and we wanted to do different things corporately. And so it kind of had run its course.
Yeah. And were you in business with other Christians, or were they just
other Christians? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So at least was it easier to deal
No.
with this because you have same values? No.
Look, people are people, and we're terribly fickle, and we're terribly short-sighted. You would hope. I always say to people, right? Let God's perspective drive your perception. Okay. Don't let your perception drive the true perspective. But as human beings, we are terribly perception-driven. Right. Good news. I'm on top of the world. Right.
Yeah.
Challenging you. It's like,
oh no, this is the end of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was asked a question one time by a pastor who was doing a sermon on work. He said, I can't answer this. I'm just going to ask you a few questions. And he said, in your experience working with people, do you think that Christians are better workers, team members? And I'd say, on balance, I have seen no marked difference. And I think it's partly because sometimes as Christians, we can think work is evil. We can think making money is evil. And, you know, it's kind of no wonder that we don't do a great job at work. But the Bible's very clear. If you cannot provide for your family, you're worse than someone that doesn't believe. It's also very clear. It says work for your company. You've got a contract, right? You sign an employment contract, and the contract says, I'm going to give the best of my ability. And so I think we should be good workers. We're not. And that's because we're all terribly fickle. None of us are perfect. We've all got blind spots. And, you know, tensions occur. You know? And it's not saying that no one's all wrong and no one's all right. Everyone's just got a different direction that they want to go. And they've also got a different perspective.
And so it was time to let it go. And how did you come up with the next idea of, is that when you started the 100X legacy?
Yeah. I think starting my business, it's, there was no one around me cheering me on, right? That's not entirely true. But when you can't pay for your credit card, when you're driving a crappy car, when you've got bad debt, when people are not going, you know, great, and I'm desperate looking for help. And I'm like, it'd be so good to have a Christian business coach, right? And there were lots of coaching programs, but they had different values. And so I think now what, you know, the team and I are trying to do is create the environment that I would have loved growing up. And so we use a model based on head, heart, hand. So we believe you want to have a successful life, a successful business, you need all three things. You need your head right, you need your heart right, and you need your hands. So hands is, I need the skills. If I've got the head right and the heart right, well, I'm just frustrated. I know where I'm going, got a big vision, my heart's in the right place, God. Well, I can't do it. I can't do 2 + 2. I'm frustrated, right? Well, what if I've got my hands right and the heart right, but I don't have my head right? My head's not right, I'm self-sabotaging. I'm trying to...
The mindset, the strategies.
Right. I can do Coursera, I can do masterclasses, I can be taught everything. And in my head, I go, I'm never going to be that guy or girl. Okay, so at that point, you're self-sabotaging. Now, what if you've got your head right, your hand right, but your heart's not right? I'm going to say to you that your life's meaningless because people follow leaders, but they leave managers. And if you're not a leader of heart, you're just going to try and run your business and life through a spreadsheet. I don't know about you. Ugh, you know? And so that's what we're trying to do in practically is like head, heart, hands. Yeah.
It's kind of like putting people over profit when it comes to the heart part.
Yeah. I think you've got to be a leader worth following. And here's the everyone wants to be a leader. Ready? Would you follow you? Would I follow Peter Lowe? Yeah. Why would I follow Peter Lowe? And, you know, replace your name.
So how does the program work? I would love to hear that because I think a lot of our listeners are either aspiring or are in business, and this is a really great program. Never heard of it until now. I mean, not now, but since I've seen you, I was looking for something like that before, and I didn't come across it. Yeah,
and I think it's taken us a lot of time. I think it's been kind of 7 years, but it's like, what does it mean to be a Christian business coach? And for a long time, I didn't want to be labelled that because I saw Christians that were business coaching, and it felt like they were just using that for manipulation, right? Like, you know, and I just never wanted to be that guy. And originally it was like, oh, we're for purpose people. And, you know, I felt like I couldn't just be honest. I've turned 50. You know, 5 regrets of the dying. I regret allowing the thoughts and opinions in other people dictate my life. So guess what? I am not going to end my days regretting that I listened to the opinions of others. I believe this is my lane, to build up Christian business leaders to run the best businesses. And now I'm going to give you an example. So my brother had brain cancer. He's going well now. Driving home, passes out, crashes into a telegraph pole, breaks his ribs, totals the car. They do the scans. These headaches he didn't know what were from. He's got brain cancer. He's in the private hospital institution. You get to pick your doctor. So it's amazing. You get their CVs, how old they are, how long they've been practicing, how many areas of brain surgery they've done in this area of the brain. There is not one characteristic that says religious beliefs. We did not care if he was Buddhist, Muslim, agnostic, atheist. We just wanted the most experienced brain surgeon to be working on that part of the brain. And so we should be the best. We should be caring for our customers. When you take on a customer, you say, I'm going to look at you after you to the best of my ability. That's a promise. Are you a person of your word? And so I'm really committed to that it's honorable just to be great at your job. Someone, and I want to say, if people are listening, someone's got to invent another Bitcoin, right? Someone's going to shape an industry. Well, why can't that be you? What is this, And I think this is this piece where I encourage the people I'm around. It's like, I have not taken a vow of poverty. I have taken a vow of humility. Humility is understanding where your power comes from and what it's for. In humility, our power comes from God and it's for other people.
Yeah.
And when we go to heaven, heaven is not described as a rickety shack on a hill. Heaven makes all the brand name luxury labels look like threadbare. And I don't even like the look of those labels. I just think that, oh my goodness. But it's like, its streets are made of gold. It's 12 gates made out of, at the gates, one solid block of pearl carved out. Like it's, and so I think, and there's passages of scripture that talk about that. I think there are dangers of money. You cannot have your faith in money. You have your faith in God.
God, yeah.
But the Bible's clear, like wisdom and money, wisdom is good. Wisdom and wealth is better.
Yeah. And so your program, is it like a group coaching?
We do both. So we've got a lot of no charge resources. So we've got things like, there's a weekly prayer Zoom that goes for 15 minutes on a Monday, once a month.
And they all have to already have a business to join?
No, we just want to pray for your success. So we've got people that are students that want to run a business one day. So a weekly prayer Zoom on a Monday. We've got once a month, we have these gatherings called Business Connect. People come in.
In person or? In
person. So they'll gather in a group. If you're remote, you can dial in by Zoom. So they gather in a group. We watch content. Crazy, the show, it's called Be Great, Do Good. It's on Binge and Foxtel now.
I saw that. Yeah.
Super fun. And so we, not dissimilar to you, we kind of unpack some things, but I do a bit of teaching around head, heart, hands. There's a free workbook that goes with it. We've got a free app you can have community. So there's that free part. And then we've got a mixture of group coaching and individual coaching and some overseas events as well. So if you're keen, 100x.ly and just register. I also put out a weekly leadership devotion on email just to encourage people.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is that I do come across people who want to learn more about business, and I would always want to funnel them in the right area because I can't do everything. Do it. He's a way better coach who knows all the scripture than me. Do you think that your purpose has changed? Like when you were running your IT business, what did you think you were on purpose for, and then what is it now?
Can I say that's a great question? And I think it can be harder to find purpose in things. It's very obvious. Okay, on purpose, I run a charity, I'm a doctor, right? Or I make a lot of money and I give it away, right? So you can say lots of those things, and there's all the truth to that. I think I began to kind of make my purpose, like find the meaning in selling more hybrid cloud instances, right? Like and you can go, look, our goal is for our customers to run better, and there's a good thing in that. But I value, you know how people say customer first? I'm not that. And I'll tell you why, I'm team first. Because the team have made a full-time commitment to be with me. A customer is willing to come and go or buy a product and leave. I'm going to be most loyal to the people who've been most loyal to me. Now, if they're wrong, we'll talk about that. you know, and I'm wrong sometimes, and I say, make apologies too. But a lot of my purpose began to be to help realize the goals and dreams of my team. I've got to say, I made so many mistakes in doing that, as you have the pressure of running a business. And so I just want to say, if you feel like you failed there were so many times when I had to pull the door shut and said, I'm really sorry for yesterday. And you let your own insecurities shape out. So yeah, I began that kind of purpose. We did sign a MOU with World Vision.
What's an MOU?
Memorandum of Understanding with World Vision. And we were giving 6 figures in a year, and we had a child sponsorship program in Sri Lanka, and you know, and that helped give some guiding alignment. So super fun. We used to run this annual award called our company is called Cavalry. We had this thing called Top Cav. I just took the Top Gun thing and I replaced gun with Cav and made myself look like Tom Cruise. And if you were the director's choice for the year, we paid for your flights and on-ground expenses to go to Sri Lanka and look at the village. Like, we sponsored hundreds of kids. They had to pay half the annual leave because you have to pay. If you don't pay, there's no skin in the game.
Yes, no skin in it.
And then that person would go over and see the projects and walk with it, and they would come back and we would say, can you share how you were and how you changed? And then we would say to the team, we'd be holding up these big decks of sponsored faces. I said, I just want you to know, is it worth it if we helped one kid? Right? And we'd have decks of hundreds of cards. And I said, look, AJ got to go on the trip, but we all made it happen. And if we're not highly profitable, we don't do as much of this.
That's right.
And you become highly profitable when you have an attitude of service and you care for people. And that's something we ingrained in the culture. We did develop this thing called the happiness system. We were on stage in San Francisco at the Microsoft Global Conference presenting on that. And, you know, that was based on kind of these ancient truths. Like, look for the ancient paths. We think we're so different. Technology changes, you know, human nature. So look for the ancient paths. So we had this ancient path based on servanthood and kind of biblical values. It's called the happiness system. It's based on service. And yeah, that was recognized. And interestingly, the company that bought us, they're on a roll up to IPO. If you pick up the prospectus, it says Cavalry Happiness System.
Wow.
And so they're saying one of the reasons you should buy into this business pre-IPO is because it's the happiness system. Now, we didn't call it the Jesus servanthood system. We called it the happiness system, but it was based on those principles.
I can't wait to research that. So you were saying your purpose along the way was your team and
Happy.
making sure that they're happy so they could do good for the world.
Yeah. And so what we would say is we wanted to own the word happy, like Volvo owned the word safety. And then you begin educating your team on what happiness is. And we would say happiness is not consumption. Happiness isn't getting what you want.
Happiness is giving, is serving.
Happiness is being a contribution. So this is what I say to people. I say to my kids, don't try to be happy because there'll be never enough to keep you happy.
Yep.
Right? Think about being productive. Think about contributing and helping people. And happiness will drop out. Happiness drops out when you're not thinking about it.
Well, other than serving people, you know, business is very complicated. It's the finance, it's all those systems. You've worked with a lot of business owners. What are some of the key things that you think sabotages their growth or you know, doesn't allow them to grow as fast as they want to?
Yeah. People don't really want to be accountable. I don't listen to what people say. I hear it all the time. Oh, I've got big dreams. You know, don't listen to what people say. Watch who they are. If you've got self-reflection, watch who you are, right? Think about the things that you discounted before you allowed it to take root. A seed got planted and a bird took it away before it could become sprouted into something. And so the person who follows you around in life is you. So you need to look for those patterns. Now, you need people that are in your corner, not your circle. And so we coach a lot of business owners. They've got people in their circle that they can't always speak freely. They can't talk about their big dreams because it off-puts them. They can't talk about too much of their frustration. So who's your corner? And so I would describe it like, I love my UFC, love my martial arts. If you knew nothing about the fight game and you were watching it, you saw two fighters pop into the ring and one has a corner and one didn't. And I said, Lynn, here's $100. Who do you think's going to win?
The one with a corner.
Exactly. Because the one in the corner in the fight had a corner in the pre-fight. And so I teach a framework called the 2LR framework: lag, lead, resource, rhythm. Lag. What are you trying to achieve with your business, or what are you trying to achieve with sales? Lead. What are the lead activities you need to do to get that goal? R, resources. What are the resources we need to invest? And this big one, the other R, what's the rhythm of accountability? You'll set a plan, you'll work to it, and you'll set a goal, I want to do it by this date. What happens if it's not done? You'll just go,
That's right. When you're on your own.
Let's get to next week. Let's get to next week. Right. And we keep thinking maths and education is going to save us. It's not. It's something like that 2LR framework. So that's going to give you, success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs had a mentor, right? You know?
Yes. And there's always going to be challenges and things that we need to learn. But when you have someone who's done it before, or or might know someone that could help you, then that's where the success could happen, or helps you to avoid the mistakes that you can make. As we're ending to the I knew that we would the conversation would flow really fast, and 45 minutes feels like it was 5 minutes. You did answer a little bit before, and you shared a lot of advice, but I just want to wrap it up with the same question that I've asked all my audience on behalf of my audience, who are often afraid to take the leap of faith because they're scared. They've got this idea, but they haven't done it before, and maybe someone else has already done it. Maybe it won't work because there's it's already exists. What advice would you give them? Because what they are is they're seeking that freedom, seeking that better life, and yet the fear of not succeeding.
I think there's different levels. It'd be cliche for me to say, just go for it.
Just do it.
Right? And I go, well, it comes to a point for that. But what are the frameworks and structures that are going to increase your likelihood of success? And so there's a principle, and it says, from the counsel of many comes success. Okay? Jim Rohn, a global renowned coach, you're the product of the 6 people that you allow to speak into your life. American term, who's your 6? Who's got your back? And so, I would say to you, write down the 6 people that allow to speak into your life. Most people just write down friends. There's no rhythm of accountability. You go, keep me accountable. Have you ever seen that? Permission to pull me up. It's not going to happen. Okay. So who are the 6 people that are in your corner actively coaching you that can help you around head, heart, hands? You've got to find a crew. So I think that community, running that plan amongst some respected community to go, how's that going? When I meet up my mentors and I share a plan, I ask questions like, you knowing me and my patterns, what would cause you most concern right now? Wow. That's an open-ended question, isn't it? What's the thing that most excites you? Where are my blind spots going to potentially impact this? And then I ask another question. If I had an enemy that was actively working against me, what would their strategy be?
Wow.
Right? And so you've got to think about these both sides. But can you see how that's kind of community? And it's not a rah-rah. You've got to work that, because we would all know, we've seen plenty of dumb ideas, right? Don't go to your friends would be another piece, right? Friends are different to your corner. Your friends know, like, Lynn, you've grown from a particular way. Around then, there were people that knew the Lynn of old. And if you told them remotely about the Lynn of the future, they go, no.
Yeah, right, yeah.
My dad, right? I reported to the CEO. I had stock options. I had all of this. I was making a lot of money. You think my dad was going, yes, son, do the business?
It's fearing for you.
He's just going, no. And for those people that love you to bits, there's an exercise called leave the tribe. It's not saying I'm not being a son, but I'm leaving this tribe so I can try and go, what is this God-given vision I know you've put on my heart? I need to hear that voice more. So there's going to be a combination of leaving the tribe, of people that know you in a certain way and that are fear-based. And there's going to be a combination of finding a community of people that have done it before that can look at it and go, yeah, I don't like that. I think you should be careful about this. I can see your heart and I'm going to back that.
Yeah.
So I think community is massive.
Wow. See, one question, but so much gold nuggets again. I feel like I got to rewatch it. There's like,
So good.
so thank you so
Thanks
much,
so much.
Peter.
I
It
loved
was
it.
amazing.
You're amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Come on, high
Yeah,
five.
amazing.
You, shut up. You're amazing.